Hello, podcast listeners. We know podcasts are a great way to catch up on a program that you may have missed on KSJE, and it's provided as a free service of this radio station. But you know, KSJE is now listener-supported, and so while you enjoy this podcast, we hope that you'll also take some time to join KSJE. Become a member today. It's quite easy to do. Just go to our website at ksje.com/support and pick the level of support that best matches your budget. Thanks again for listening. Here's your podcast.
Now back to Studio A and the award-winning Scott Michlin Morning Program on KSJE.
And we have an extra program for you because we are being visited by Congresswoman Teresa Fernández, who is in San Juan County today. Congresswoman, it's always wonderful to have you here. Thank you for fitting us into your schedule.
Well, hello, Scott, and hello to everybody out there in the listening area. I've had such a good time here in San Juan and looking forward to even more wonderful events in your beautiful county.
Well, we're glad to have you here, and I know it's been a busy day so far, and you're not done yet, so you have a few more stops to make, and you're here on a recess from Congress, which we'll talk about too in just a moment. But so far on your visit here, you've been talking about some of the uranium issues in this part of New Mexico, and so maybe give us an update on some of those conversations.
Well, people might not know that we passed into law a bill that would provide you with $100,000 in compensation. $100,000 if you or maybe your spouse or parent or even grandparent contracted one of the cancers or diseases as a result of the fact that we exploded the very first bomb in New Mexico down in Trinity. We mined uranium in New Mexico, and we did so in a way, the United States did so in a way that did not protect the people. And so the United States government, Congress, and signed into law by the president, has actually said, we're sorry. We are sorry that you have suffered on behalf of the United States as we pursued these national security goals. So we're going to provide you with $100,000 in compensation. I want everybody to know about this because $100,000 is not going to bring back your loved one. It's not going to pay for all your medical bills, but it's something, and you are entitled to it. So I want to make sure you apply for that $100,000.
And that's the key. They have to apply, right? It's not coming automatically. So that's an important distinction, I think, to make.
Yes. Anybody who lived in New Mexico from 1944 to 1962 for at least 1 year, only a year. If you lived in New Mexico between that period and you have any of the cancers, and they're all the serious cancers that people in New Mexico have because we exploded the bomb here.
Right.
Leukemia, multiple myeloma, thyroid, esophagus, stomach, breast cancer, thyroid cancer, intestine, pancreatitis, urinary bladder. We have a whole list of the different cancers that if you had any of these cancers and you happen to live here between 44 to 62 for 1 year, you're entitled to $100,000. You can go to my website at fernandez.house.gov to learn more about it. And I also want people to remember, anywhere in New Mexico, you didn't have to have worked in Los Alamos or worked the mines. This is a downwinder because when they exploded that bomb and it traveled throughout the state, the radiation exposed the entire state. There's also another program because we know many people worked in our uranium mines, right? And so for the people who worked in the uranium mines, if they worked in those uranium mines before 1971, they were previously eligible, but the legislation that I helped write actually says if you worked in the uranium mines even after 1971, you're also entitled. It's a separate program. It's a one-time compensation, $100,000, and if you worked in the mines, there's also some health care provisions. Go to my website, fernandez.house.gov. We want you to get the money. That's actually an apology from the United States for having exposed you to this radiation.
Very good. Well, that's important news. Thank you for sharing that, and that's important legislation. So, thank you and the Congress for getting that support to be able to pass that for all of our neighbors and family members. That's important as well. You're here as well, I think, talking a little bit about some funding for San Juan County. I know the county is very excited because you are helping to fund a new fire truck for San Juan County, and so that's got to be exciting to give away a big giant check while you're here.
Yes, I just delivered a $1 million giant check.
$1 million. Let that sink in for a minute,
$1
everybody.
million. But that was a big check that we were able to deliver to San Juan County so they could have a ladder truck. Imagine. We have some pretty tall buildings here and here at the college, at the San Juan Medical Center where I just came from. Their ladder truck doesn't work. They need a new one. So I was able to get them $1 million to do that. And I'm really proud that with that million, I've also been able to bring money here to San Juan College itself for your health center. I've brought money for your police department, your women and children. There's a domestic violence a shelter for those who are fleeing domestic or sexual violence. I've been able to fund that. I love the fact that one of my jobs is to bring money back into community for things that it needs. The big brothers, big sisters, they've gotten some money. So I love bringing those big checks and love doing that kind of work.
Well, thank you for doing that on behalf of the community. That's really appreciated. And you have a big district, so it's probably hard to spread that all around how large District 3 is in New Mexico. So the fact that you're able to do that here and elsewhere is really important. So thank you for doing that as well.
You know, I've been able to bring to this area, when you think about the Navajo Gallup pipeline,
Yes.
right? Many of your students here might come from Navajo communities where they don't have running water. But one of the things I've been very proud of is the fact that I've brought over about $740 million to fund the Navajo Gallup pipeline. We've increased the cost of that. It's going to be about $1.8 billion. I was the one who actually got that increase of cost so that we could fully fund it. And we're working to make sure that I love going to the groundbreaking ceremonies, but I especially love going to the ceremonies where we actually turn on the tap to some of those communities, because it is hard, and we need to make life easier for those of us who choose to stay in our rural communities, to live and farm in our rural communities, to work in our rural communities. I'm always going to be fighting for that, because that's what my life is. I come from a rural, I always have a hard time saying rural, all those R's, but I come from that kind of community, so I love being able to serve and make sure that you can stay in the home that you love and where you find beauty and balance.
Right. And for a lot of these communities, as you said, they have never had a reliable source of drinking water. And this project aims to bring that to a lot of these very rural communities between here and Gallup, all the way up and down. And so it's a life-changing project, and it's expensive, but it is life-changing. So it's a big deal. So thank you for that as well. You are heading from here to a farm to talk a little bit about farming, of course, and maybe prices and affordability, which is another issue that we hear about. I know folks are dealing with high gasoline prices, high fertilizer prices, and things like that. It is kind of the start of the growing season, so maybe some of those fertilizer purchases have already been made, but that's still a concern, I think, for some farmers, not just here, but nationwide.
Yes, the war that Trump decided to start in Iran, it's a war of choice. It's a war that the American people did not want. He is not supported in this war. But one of the consequences of it is that gas prices are going through the roof. But it's not just how much it costs to go and fill up your car. Think about the cost of diesel. The trucks that need to drive in our long distances. I met with a rancher who has a calf-cow operation, and he has to go and check on those, those births. Are those calves all right? Are they being born? What do they need? And that's long distance. So our ranchers are suffering as they're having to put money into those big old trucks over there. And they need those big trucks to be able to get to their ranches. But think about the farmers. We have to remember all of the byproducts that come from oil and gas. And one of them is the fertilizers. And that part of the world, a lot of the fertilizers flow through that strait, the Hormuz Strait. And if you would have looked at a map, I'm sorry, I am so angry at this president for starting that war, because if he would have looked at that map, seen that strait was going to be closed. The minute he dropped those bombs on Iran, Iran always had the capacity. His generals told him, they're firing generals left and right because those generals are speaking truth to power and saying, you shouldn't do that, you can't do that. And instead of listening to the generals, Secretary Hegseth is firing them. They have fired more generals and more chief of staffs in the war than ever. They're doing it because they don't want to listen. And by not listening to the fact that you shouldn't have started the war in the first place, we are now seeing these gas prices surge. It's 33% in San Juan County alone. And I don't need to tell you the percentage. You go fill up your car. But nobody thinks about, pesticides, they cost more money. Fertilizer is 37% more. So how does a farm make it? Our farmers are already on small margins, and they need all the help we can get. And instead of bringing the cost down, President Trump and his policies are raising the cost for not only our farmers, but everyday Americans, everyday New Mexicans are just seeing the disastrous impact of his decisions on our pocketbooks.
And so with that being said, Congresswoman, is there something that the Congress could do, and I know you're in the minority party in Congress, but certainly there is maybe some efforts to bipartisan efforts maybe to help with some of these things. Is there some conversations that are going on that maybe we haven't heard about?
So one of the ways in which we can try to bring an end to the war is to pass what's called a War Powers Resolution. Now, people may or may not know, but Congress is the only entity that under our Constitution can declare war. So the reason why you might hear Trump saying it's no longer, he goes, I call it a war, but they tell me not to say that, is because he shouldn't start a war without talking to Congress. He shouldn't start a war without talking to the American public first. And so we have a War Powers Resolution that we're looking to get Republican support on. We have various Republicans who have already been able to say, we shouldn't be continuing with this without a War Powers Resolution. We have some Republican senators who are starting to say that. We just need the right number. We need about 5 in the House, and we need about 7 in the Senate to join us in that. Now, I love bipartisanship. Listen, I work on a bipartisan manner all the time. That $740 million that I was able to get for the San Juan, that was bipartisan. I went and talked to my Republican colleagues in Congress who control the purse, and I said, listen, it's really important. And they said, we agree with you, Teresa. You're going to work across party lines, get this done. And so that's what I'm hoping for, is that we'll get the right number of Republican senators, of Republican House members who are willing to join with us to start protecting the pocketbooks of their American constituents. Because Americans don't want war. Americans want us to lower the cost of living. What does affordability mean? Affordability means I can afford life. I can afford gas. I can afford groceries. And I want to continue my work in Congress to deliver the good life where you can afford groceries, you can afford a home of your own, you can afford health care. You have a good job that treats you with dignity and respect. And those are the kinds of things I want to continue to work for. And hopefully we'll have some Republicans who say, that's important to me too, that's important to my constituents, I'm going to join with you to try to stop this war. Because until we stop this war, we're going to continue to see gas prices go through the roof.
Sure. And there's a lot of folks that are saying they may not come down as fast as they went up if things are to change. I want to ask you, too, if there are folks on the other side of the aisle, some of your Republican colleagues that you feel comfortable reaching out to and having a conversation with. I think sometimes we hear that it's just two very different schools of thought and you never talk to each other and things like that. And I don't know if that's always the case on Capitol Hill. Can you help us understand that a little bit?
Well, I talk to my Republican colleagues all the time. Listen, I'm going to encourage everybody. Follow me on my official, I'm here in my official capacity. Follow me on my official social media. If you do social media, go log in. You will see me that I sit on a committee called the Rules Committee. It's where every bill comes before it goes to the floor of the House. We have huge debates on that bill, and I am giving them a hard time, the Republicans, for doing some of the things they do. But then I will also say that I will leave that committee room after I've debated them, and we will look for the places where we have agreement. Like I said, the Navajo-Gallup pipeline. Mm-hmm. bipartisan support for that. Something that is hitting the newspapers right now is that the Trump administration has zeroed out funding for the Institution of American Indian Arts, the Institute of American Indian Arts. He zeroed out funding for tribal education institutions. Now, I will go work with Chairman Cole on that. He is a big supporter. He's Native American himself. We will get funding restored. We will get funding restored for all the tribal programs that President Trump is suggesting he zero out. We will do that on a bipartisan basis. The money I've gotten on community projects, which is significant, not just for San Juan, but throughout my district, I have done on a bipartisan basis. So I work a lot on a bipartisan basis. Our problem is that right now a lot of Republicans who are privately tell me that they're against the war, that they were against the tariffs because the tariffs were really hurting people's pocketbooks, they're afraid to vote against President Trump. They are afraid of him. Now, I need to tell you, when President Biden was president, I went and complained to him all the time. I pushed him. I demanded more. I wasn't afraid of him. Not that I was afraid, I had the courage to stand up for my constituents, to stand up and say, I need this is what's important, this is what my constituents are telling me. So I am hoping that some of my Republican colleagues will show up and listen to their constituents and show up in Washington, D.C. and say, I'm going to vote for my constituents, I'm going to vote against the war, I'm going to vote against the tariffs, I'm going to vote for funding FEMA, funding TSA, funding the Coast Guard. That's what we are hoping for. But some of those Republicans, they don't do town halls. They don't show up in radio stations because they get yelled at. I love coming to every part of my district. I love people telling me what they think. If they have criticism of what I'm doing, if they're supportive of what I'm doing, I need to hear their voices. That's my job, is to hear your voice. Please reach out to my office. I'm at fernandez.house.gov. My phone number is 505-428-4680. It is only when you call me that I know what my community is thinking, and that is very important to me, is to hear from you. Please do that. I love working on a bipartisan basis. Almost everything I've done today is very bipartisan.
That's great. Well, and again, you're in a fairly reddish county here in San Juan County, and so I think it's important that you do make the effort to come and visit all your constituents throughout the 3rd Congressional District. So that's an important part. And deliver. Fair
to the
enough.
Sheriff's Office.
Those giant checks. That's true.
Those giant checks. I love coming up here. I love hearing from you. Please continue to reach out. Please, if you know somebody who had any of these cancers and lived in New Mexico from 44 to 62, reach out. Go to my website, find out more. $100,000 if your parents or grandparents had any of these cancers, you may be eligible for $100,000. I want everybody to be able to get that money because it's money they deserve.
Very true. Congresswoman Teresa Fernández, thank you for being here. I know we're out of time. You have to hit the road again to your next stop, but thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much, Scott, and bye-bye, everybody.
Nice to see you. Thank you. Did you enjoy that podcast? We hope that you did. And if you did, share it with your friends. And if you really want to keep podcasts like this coming, please support KSJE. You can do it easily online at ksje.com.